I know it's way too early in the morning to be having these serious conversations, but to kind of follow up after I made a video yesterday calling Donald Trump a patsy, a lot of you came into the comments and said, well, he's a Trojan horse or a co-conspirator. I get it. There's a lot of different things we could call him, and he's all of them. He's all of them. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to save his own ass. He's pushing an agenda that this is not his brainchild. He's not writing these executive orders. This is not him. He's doing the work of other people. And there's behind the scenes is largely a far right Christian nationalist kind of white supremacist movement. And I know there was a lot of conversation about, well, what about Vivek Ramaswamy and JD Vance's wife? Like, what's going to become of them? And in order to have this conversation, please bear with me and please stay till the end. I know I talk a lot, but I think this is an important conversation. We need to go back in history a minute, because if you go back to the Holocaust and you think about the Krakow and Warsaw ghettos, right? What they did was they rounded up all the Jewish people and they put them into like these small little, like 2 square block patches of these cities, tens of thousands of them. And they kept them there. They were ready to take them on trains and take them to the extermination camps or the work camps or wherever they were going, right? And if you do basic math, it's like that philosophy we talked about not too long ago when we were all friends with each other because we were all together trying to eat the rich. We talked about the ants outnumbering the grasshoppers. And that's exactly how it was in those ghettos, right? There was tens of thousands of Jews. And there weren't that many Nazi soldiers, and they certainly didn't have that many bullets. So if someone had done the math, they would have figured out, hey, wait a minute, this is a dangerous situation. These people could realize very quickly that they don't have to be in this situation, and then we're screwed. So what the Nazis did was they hired Jewish police officers. And there was an entire Jewish police force that operated within those ghettos. And I can't explain why any Jewish man would join that police force. I can't. Some of them were self-hating Jews who thought they could curry favor with the Nazis, and they believed in what the Germans were doing. And so they were like, yeah, I'll join you. I'll be one of you bad guys. And they did it willfully. There were others that probably just needed money and they needed to feed their families. And I think maybe they'd hoped that they could be a filter between themselves and the bad that was happening, or maybe they could protect their families if they just played along. I don't know, but that's what they did. Eventually, all of those police officers were the ones that were responsible. They were the ones that were told, go in there and get your people and put them on trains. And they were forced to go in and round up other Jews and put them on trains to their imminent death. They knew what they were doing. They had to do it. And guess what happened? Every single one of those police officers that thought they were currying favor, that they thought they were safe, they never thought the leopards would eat their face, and they fucking did. Every single one of them was eventually put on like the very last train to their end. It didn't work out well for anybody. The reason I'm bringing that up is because we as a people have historically been more accepting of a message that comes from someone we know or trust or that looks like us. A pure form of gaslighting. If someone you trust goes, it's okay, you're overreacting, you want to believe them. And a lot of people believe the gospel of Donald Trump. When Donald Trump goes, oh, I would never do that. Oh, don't worry, I'm a good guy. Oh, you should vote for me. They'll do it because they trust him. A little over 2 years ago, when the Supreme Court removed the federal protections for Roe versus Wade, a lot of women, myself included, felt empty. From that moment on, we felt like we were second-class citizens. Our rights have been taken away. But the gaslighting for 2 years of, ladies, you're being hyperbolic. You're overreacting. You haven't lost anything. You still have every right today that you had yesterday. I don't understand what your problem is. And when we say we can no longer exercise the right to bodily autonomy, oh, so you can't kill babies? Is that what you wanted to murder babies? The gaslighting is out of control, and it's coming from other women. That's what they've done, is they've pushed other women out and have those women telling us, you really haven't lost anything. You're being silly. You should just go back to work, ignore it all. It's fine. It's fine. Same thing with Clarence Thomas. I mentioned yesterday that they will eventually come. They're going to come for gay marriage. That's just a done deal. They've already said they're going to. But they will come for the Loving versus Virginia decision, which is a federally protected right for people to marry outside of their own race. It's federally protected. And Clarence Thomas who's a black man married to a white woman, if you can square that hypocrisy. But he says, well, he's not really sure. Him and Alito both are like, well, we're not really sure. That might have been a constitutional overstep when that was made a federal law. That should probably go back to the states. Now, see, it's really easy for Clarence Thomas to say, and that's exactly what he'll do. He'll be the Trojan horse. He'll be the gaslighter that says, look at me. I'm a black man married to a white woman. Would I do anything to harm my own marriage? No. No, don't be silly. You're being hyperbolic. You're overreacting. This is a states' rights issue. We're all for states' rights, right? Like, yeah, that's what we wanted, right? Gaslighting you. But here's the deal. Clarence Thomas doesn't live in Enid, Oklahoma, or Tyler, Texas, or St. George, Utah, or Boise, Idaho, or Ozark, Missouri. He doesn't live in any of the red states that will outlaw it. They've already got bills. I guarantee you, just like abortion, they already had them written and someone's carrying them around in a briefcase waiting for the day they can walk in and present it to the state house. Certain states will do it. The people who are okay with these laws being passed are people who won't be impacted by them, just like abortion. They can pay to fly their daughters wherever they want to go to get abortions. Clarence Thomas probably lives in D.C. The state of Maryland, the city of Washington, D.C., they're never, ever going to pass these types of laws. They're not. If you think about J.D. Vance and his wife, yes, I think they still have a home in Ohio, but they have homes in D.C. and San Francisco. They live in places that these laws will never back them. And by the way, don't you think for a minute she's the Trojan horse to the Indian American community? With all of this conversation about immigration, don't you think she's the one saying, oh, don't worry, they're not talking about us. No, see, we're the smart, educated Indian Americans. They love us. Nothing would ever, look at me. Would I ever let anything happen to you? No, I wouldn't. Trust me. Go get on the train. They pick the messenger that best suits the situation so that more people are compliant. More people go along because it's a face, it's a skin tone, it's a person, it's a religion that they trust. Ride this wave and you'll be safe until it's your turn to get on the train.